Little Kathy went dancing, went dancing, went dancing. Little Kathy went dancing one day. She danced out in the garden, the garden, the garden. She danced out in the garden, her heart was so gay. La 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 lee-rio, la 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 lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay. There she saw a small robin, small robin, small robin. There she saw a small robin, it sat in a tree. Little friend, come and join me, come join me, come join me. Little friend, come and join me, come dancing with me. La ra la lee-rio, la ra la lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay. I'm afraid I'd look silly, look silly, look silly. I'm afraid I'd look silly, a robin said then. For I'm timid and tiny and tiny and tiny. For I'm timid and tiny, birds can't dance like men. La ra la lee-rio, la ra la lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay. But you've wings you can fly with, can fly with, can fly with. But you've wings you can fly with, why strut like a man? Everyone can do something, do something, do something. Everyone can do something, it's part of life's plan. La ra la lee-rio, la ra la lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay. Let's go call all our neighbors, our neighbors, our neighbors. Let's go call all our neighbors, the large and the small. All the world should be dancing, be dancing, be dancing. All the world should be dancing, for God made us all. La ra la lee-rio, la ra la lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay. La ra la lee-rio, la ra la lay. Little Kathy went dancing, her heart was so gay.
This week's quality is patience. Patience, it has been well said, is the shortest path to God. To attune the heart to the rhythms of eternity, one must first adjust himself to life's longer rhythms. He should not allow his mind to become absorbed in concentration on the little ripples at the surface of the sea. Patience means also adjusting to whatever is in life, rather than wishing it were something else. Patience is a prerequisite for every type of success, for it is when we work with things as they are that we can change them to whatever we might like them to be. Now let's affirm together, first in a loud voice, capturing the conscious mind, and progressively softer, and then in whisper and silently. I am neither the ripples at the surface of the sea, nor yet the crashing waves. I am the vast ocean deeps, unaffected by mighty surface storms, untouched by any superficial change. I am neither the ripples at the surface of the sea, nor yet the crashing waves. I am the vast ocean deeps, unaffected by mighty surface storms, untouched by any superficial change. Now in a normal speaking voice, I am neither the ripples at the surface of the sea, nor yet the crashing waves. I am the vast ocean deeps, unaffected by mighty surface storms, untouched by any superficial change. Now in a whisper, I am neither the ripples at the surface of the sea, nor yet the crashing waves. I am the vast ocean deeps, unaffected by mighty surface storms, untouched by any superficial change. Now silently, but with deep concentration at the point between the eyebrows, I am neither the ripples at the surface of the sea, nor yet the crashing waves. I am the vast ocean deeps, unaffected by mighty surface storms, untouched by any superficial change. Now let's pray together silently. Long have I called thee, Lord, but thou hast not answered me. But for what long aeons didst thou endure my fickleness in this life, Lord? And if need be, through eternity, I will keep calling thee. Om, peace, amen. Let's read from Race of the One Light. This is weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by J. Ronald Walters, Swami Kriyananda. This week's reading is Deeds versus Intentions. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ emphasized repeatedly the spirit, not the letter of the law. In chapter 5 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, he speaks of the sin of killing and of the legal punishment attendant on that sin, but says that more important than the act is the desire to kill or to do harm. He shows that the sin of harmful desire goes beyond merely wanting to kill. My message to you, he said, is this: whoever is angry with his brother without cause already stands condemned. Whoever contemptuously calls his brother a fool shall answer for it to the Supreme Council. And whoever calls his brother an outcast of God shall be in danger of hellfire. Brother here means any other human being, for all of us in the highest sense are brothers and sisters, children of our one Father, Mother, God. The true self of one is the self of all. To hurt another is, even if one doesn't realize it, to hurt oneself. Swami Kriyananda in the New Path recalls an episode in which the master, Paramahansa Yogananda, revealed his sense of identity even with the plants. One day, Kriyananda wrote, we were moving a delicate but rather heavy tropical plant into position on the hillside. Our handling evidently was too rough, for Master cried out, be careful what you are doing. Can't you feel? It's alive. To wish death to anyone, to wish even harm to another creature, is to deny in oneself the reality of that divine life of which all of us are manifestations. It is, in short, to deny the eternal truth proclaimed by the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter. This self is never born, nor does it perish. Once existing, it cannot ever cease to be. It is birthless, eternal, changeless, ever itself. It's not slain when the body is slain. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning again, dear souls. Thank you for being here. Thank you to those joining us online as well. It's a beautiful center here at East LA, and I'm honored to talk today on a beautiful topic, deeds and intentions. Before that, I'll read from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. All futurity danced in me, the infinite rhythm. I disconnected my awareness from the little garden plot of senses and switched it to the vast territory of the infinite. The aurora of my awareness spread like dancing waves of light in the aurora borealis and embraced like cosmic wonderland. When thus I entered this vast panorama, my awareness no longer dulled by the opiate sensory noises, nor blindfolded by the veil of mere appearances. I stood marveling before countless streams of radiant, rushing thoughts, rippling through millennia from long dead, still living, and yet to be born civilizations. All time, past, present, future, danced its infinitude of rhythms on the stage of my all embracing consciousness. Lots of notes. Deeds versus intentions. So, what are deeds? We get up in the morning and we want every day to be a good day. We want to do good things, we want to do good to people. And then we have karma that catches up with us. It has its ups and downs. So, what is going on here? So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there is no way to get to me but through actions. We have to act. He says, Na karmanam anarambham naishkarmam purushosnute. This is the third sloka in the Gita, which essentially he's calling everybody to work for him. So you have to act, but we have to work for him. So all our deeds need to be for Divine Mother, need to be for truth. So this is what he calls Nishkam Karma. Because intentions drives our deeds. What drives us to do something is a desire to fulfill something, to get to somewhere. But if we get caught up in our little minds of little pleasures and little achievements, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? Where we do something, we get something, we feel the void, we try something else, and we keep going down this path. So this is the path of karma, and what Krishna is talking about is Nishkam Karma. He also says, right in the next sloka, that karanimha vidarastu ma phalesu kadachana. That means whatever you do, ma phalesu kadachana means that do not act for or do not ask for results. Do it for the sake of doing it, for the sake of serving, for the sake of truth for me. So he's giving both the problem and the solution. You have to act. There's no way out of it. And the way you get out of it through acting is to act for me. So that's our path to salvation, that we need to be steadfast and resolute in, where we are constantly working, but working for God. First example that comes to mind when deeds and intentions start straying apart, where illusion, delusion, forgetfulness starts blocking our intentions, with Judas. So when he was questioning that why did we have to spend so much money on that spikenard oil and not take the 300 pennies or whatever and give it to the poor, what did Jesus say? He said, the poor you always have with you, but me you don't have always. So what was he meaning by that? Master said very beautifully that when we are born, the dice is already loaded. This lifetime is not to look outside to fix others' problems. It is not something that we can do outside of ourselves, because that we cannot do. It's a school where we have to fix ourselves and in our act to serve. So that's poverty. When we are trying to do something outside, we are not connecting with the richest, infinite cosmic bliss. We are poor to start with. And if we are already poor, how can we make anybody else rich? So that's what Jesus is saying, meaning by saying that, you will not have me always with you unless you start to get out of your own poverty consciousness and not worry about what Mary is doing with this spikenard oil. Focus on her devotion that she is giving to me. Bring that into your own heart. That will drive your intentions. That will drive you to good deeds. Another example that I was meditating on this topic, and I told Master that, hey, Padma was supposed to do the talk today. She started feeling ill kind of Friday afternoon, because normally when I do the talk, I spend the entire week thinking about that topic. And well, it was time bound, short period of time I had to do to prepare. And then he started, giving me these hints, and he gave me this example of Dhirananda. Some of you might have heard of him. It's an example in the autobiography for Yogi. He was one of his good friends. His name was Vasu Vakchi, and he came with Master. He was actually doing all the management at Mount Washington, but finally he fell apart, and he asked for $8,000 for all the teachings, and it just went downhill, and he betrayed Master. Master, when he was young, he told his friend Tulsi Bose, this is 40 years before this person has betrayed, that one day he's going to betray me, and he's going to marry a white woman, he's going to sue me, and all of that. He knows. And he also said that he'll get liberation in 3 lifetimes from now. Jesus knew probably the same thing about Judas. They see the full picture. So when a mother is basically dealing with the tantrums of a kid, and the kid is running around and all those kind of things are happening, they see the full path ahead of them. All they give them is love. And when that happens, there is no judgment. And when there is no judgment, there is no concept of the smaller self. There is really no decoupling between deeds and intentions. And this is not something that just happens accidentally. God does not play dice with nature, as Einstein said. So Dhirananda was Robert Curthouse in the 11th century, and he was doing similar stuff, and he was falling out, very intellectual. 1,000 years after that, it still carries. So it's not an easy thing that we just, flip the switch and we get, good intentions. We have to work towards it. We have to be steadfast. We have to be resolute. We have to be single-minded in our path going forward. There's this ad that I've seen, I think it's State Farm or All Hand, or some insurance company, which says, oh, you are in good hands. So our version today is we are in God hands, right? Because it takes a lot of good karma to even be a spiritual seeker. So the fact that we are here is we are in good hands. Is we are already almost, after 8 million lives of going through this hamster wheel of, deeds and actions and trying to do something, get something, we have reached a point where that, agonizing anxiety and that agonizing sense of emptiness we're trying to get out of. So we are in very good hands there. Another story comes to mind, which is the opposite of this, what Jesus did, is again from the autobiography of a yogi. This is about Master's brother-in-law. Somebody might have read, it's a chapter, The Heart of Stone Images, in the AY, if you recall. So his brother-in-law used to taunt, spiritual leaders and priests and swamis. And so his sister, used to cry because she was very devout as well. Master one day said, okay, let's go to the Dakshineshwar temple, and Divine Mother will bless him. So obviously, he goes, and eventually, it's a long story. So long story short, what Master did, he did not proselytize. Did not get into a moral absolutism of, this is the path. If you don't follow this path, you'll burn in hell, this, that, and all those kinds of things. Just prayed and meditated. And Divine Mother appeared to him. And then this person was changed. It is not what we do outside, it is what we go inside ourselves to bring the best and highest selves within ourselves that can truly calm this duality between deeds and intentions. The hymn to Brahma that we sing, at the end it says, Sadguru Tvam Namami. Sadguru is the Divine Lord, Tvam is Him, Namami. Nama is Namaskar, Ami is me. Similarly, the word Swami is broken up into Swa, which is the highest self, and me, Swami. So the Swami, like Master or Swamiji, they were able to be the channel of divine light through which everything flows without injecting themselves into the middle. That's why it's so pure. That's why it's so divine. That's why it's so timeless across time. If we lose that connection, we get into the vortices of our samaskars, our vrittis, our habits. And more we get that, we get locked into our anger, our frustration, our forgetfulness of the self, and it starts degenerating. The more we degenerate into our little self, the more the intuition behind those intentions that drives those actions that gets us to Nishkam Karma starts fading away, and we keep repeating our cycles. So we have to be steadfast in our journey, otherwise we get out of tune. And if we want to be the vehicle and the vessel that sings these celestial songs, I can't sing very well, so I know what out of tune means. We can't be good vessels. We can't harmonize, and we cannot spread the word. When Babaji appeared to Sri Yukteswar, and Sri Yukteswar was a little angry that you came for a little brief period of time and then you disappeared. What did Babaji tell him? Meditate more, because your gaze is still not as faultless as it needs to be. So as we focus our energy to the spiritual eye and we get to that faultless, or aspire to get to that faultless state, faultless gaze, we can feel what everything that we are talking about in terms of intentions means. We start losing our little self as the little bubbles on the sea, the waves on the sea, into the vast cosmic ocean. So think of the Kurukshetra, the battle in the Mahabharata that is between good and evil, and it's happening today. We all know that, right? There is a tussle going on between good and evil. People are dying. Children, women, old people, everybody is suffering. So this is just unfortunate but real. And in the Kurukshetra, if you see, it's an allegory of good versus evil. The numbers on the good side are always less. The numbers on the evil side are much more. But who is on the side of good? Lord Krishna is there on the side of the good. Right? So if the opening verse of the Kurukshetra, when Lord Krishna is driving Arjuna, he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavatu bharata, which means whenever there is adharma and there is glani, which is agony and pain, I come. Abhyuthanam adharmasya, that means I descend to fight with this adharma. And it has been a constant battle. If our deeds and intentions were all aligned to the divine will, we would have reached salvation. The entire universe would have reached salvation. Just like it happened the first time when out of Vishnu's Navi, the lotus came and Brahma was sitting. He manifested 5 human beings, they meditated and boom, marched back to him, done, right? And then Brahma said, no, that's not how it's going to be. And Vishnu said, Here is Maya for you, right? And that's how it continues. So this is all the illusion that we have to fight with. Unless we get out of that, we'll constantly see this as our personal battles versus what's really trying to happen in the bigger sphere. So, abhyuthanam adharmasya sambhavami yuge yuge, which means yuga after yuga, what I bring is hope. Sambhava means potential, means hope. Every time this happens, and I am giving this to you only. Lord Krishna is saying, this is something that I am giving to you so you can remember how far you have gone away from the Vishnu Navi, how far you have gone away from the source of truth, how far you have gone away from your own highest potential. There's a saying that this is a very common saying, that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. How many of you have heard that one? Why is that? Because these are not divinely ordained intentions. These are our own concocted way of doing personal short-term gratifications. What amazes me every time I do a talk, I try to see the topic from the rays and the topic from the affirmations, and see the beautiful connection between the two, how Swamiji has weaved the two. So today's topic from the rays is patience, right? Very interesting. Earlier this week, right, when the judges' affirmation was happening, the Ketanji Brown Jackson, that was last week, right? A lot of it was very forgettable, regrettable. But there's one thing that really caught me when she was talking about, she was walking in Harvard Square, and she met another black woman student who was walking by, and she stooped next to her and whispered in her ear one word: persevere. What is perseverance? Perseverance is the positive action of patience. So when we are patient and we are actually trying to do some deeds which are essentially imbued in divine intentions that's driving that, then we stay positive, and that's being persevering. At that time, I had no idea that Padma would fall sick and she'd not do the talk. So, but something told me, remember that. I can't remember anything that happened in that hearing, but something told me that just remember this. It's all by design. I was supposed to be here today. I was supposed to refer to that today. So everything that is happening is divinely ordained, divinely engineered. All we have to do is tune into the flow. A few years back, I was listening to a interview on NPR. This is a CEO who came up from very modest backgrounds, and the interviewer was asking her, so what's your core competency that got you here? Is it smartness? Is it managing? Is it money? And he used a word that I've never heard before or after, used by an executive talking about their competence. And he said, the word is stick-at-itness. All I did was stick. I stuck at it. And that word really stuck with me, no pun intended, because as we think about our journey and our patience that is needed to really be in tune with the Master amidst everything that is going on, we have to persevere and we have to stick with it. So the other example that came to me was because we drive in Southern California, and well, with fuel prices, maybe I don't know what kind of reprieve we'll get, but we have traffic jams. So imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam on a 405. Right? You're sitting there, you're getting late, you're breathing heavily, you're getting anxious, you'll be late, something important is waiting for you, and your head is throbbing, all these things are happening. Just for 1 second, close your eyes and think that there is a helicopter floating, moving on top of you, and God is sitting there. And God is calling you, come and see what's happening. Visualize that when you get up and you're with Him, you're seeing far down the road on the 405, maybe the junction of 10 or 101 or 5 somewhere, there's an accident. Elderly person whom you know, suffering. And then just pause for 1 second and think, what will change? So the desire to be somewhere because you are getting late to do something is now switched. How can I serve that person? Help that person. You're no longer stuck in the mental calibrations of, can I go to the right lane, left lane, sneak through the carpool lane. All those things are not happening, but your heart is opening up to do something better, and your breath starts slowing down. So that's an allegorical way of thinking, that if we are able to lift ourselves internally to a spiritual eye and be steadfast, and we are constantly focused and attuned, we can see that big picture of what's happening. And then that drives compassion, that drives even-mindedness, and that really drives us to be of service to others. So every time I talk about at Sunday service, I get a visualization. Now, one time I got a ship in the middle of the ocean, and there's a huge wave and it's tossing and turning, but the buoy is really anchored to the float, so it's not going to just take the ship away. That was a different talk, but it basically was talking about centeredness. This week, for the past 2 days, I was intensely meditating. I just saw a squiggly line in my meditation, and it was not making a lot of sense to me in the beginning. And then I realized what Divine Mother was telling me is that, think of 2 points, and you're trying to, instead of a straight line, you're trying to jam too many things between those 2 points, and the line becomes squiggly. That means, you are really trying to overload your actions with too many things in your physical plane. And she said, how do you make that a straight line? Extend the ends. So think of the squiggy line, and if you extend the ends, and the more you dump on that, the ends keep extending. So the line never flutters or never squiggles anymore. So that gets us to a state of even-mindedness. And it started making sense to me that Divine Mother is telling me that not to force things into what you have, but to understand the flow of what things are happening. So whenever we take actions and decisions, we can feel that there is joy, there is calmness, there's expansion in our souls that is driving that. At that point of time, we can almost feel intuitively that our intuitions are aligned to the divine. In chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "O son of Kunti, the ideas of heat and cold, pleasure and pain are produced by the contacts of the senses with their objects. Such ideas are limited by a beginning and an end. O descendant of Bharata, bear them with patience." So what Swamiji refers to this is beautifully a state of inner aboveness. Isn't that a beautiful word? An inner aboveness. So you're above what's happening in and around you. It's a non-excitable state. So it's taking you away from this sense of temporary happiness and fear and anger and all this, unruffling and other ruffling that's happening, and get into an unruffled state of a celestial land of permanency. And the dichotomy of all this is that if we want to accomplish great deeds, we need to get out of the way. Isn't that interesting? To accomplish great deeds, we need to get out of the way so that the divine can shine through us. So that our inner strength is fully saturated with divine powers. I work as a senior manager at Boeing, and sometimes we have to take these leadership classes to kind of bolster our corporate leadership skills. So the one that I took recently and I thought was so relevant for today was a program called GROW, GROW. So G stands for goal. You set a goal. R stands for reality. You have to understand the reality of the situation. O stands for options. So, what are the options I have to go forward? And then you finalize and you get to a way forward. That's the W. So, what really stood out at me from that class is one line. It says, every relationship is an assignment. Isn't that beautiful? Every relationship, everything that we do, every person we meet with, every interaction is like an assignment. And our job, frankly, is to get an A plus in all those assignments. Right? How do you do that? So it just lines up with this talk today, right? So your deeds, how you reach them, you try to reach to the highest self in them. And the other thing that they taught us, which was I found was very spiritual, that sometimes you'll see when you're in doubt, it's difficult to look at somebody's eyes and speak, right? Because you tend to look down, look up. And they were not spiritual people, they were corporate trainers. They said, look at the person's forehead between the eyebrows, because he will think that you are looking directly at him or her. But it's all spiritual. I mean, it's so beautiful, right? I mean, if you see the Dwapara Yoga, how things are shaping up, things are moving in that direction. People are seeing that, you have to want the best for people so that you can get the best out of the people, so that it's best for them. You get out of the way. You don't have your, milestones and targets and all of that for yourself. Do it for them. And then what you get back, the universe will pay it abundantly back to you. So your deeds will just magnify those intentions and will give it back more and more. And gratitude. Every opportunity we have, we should be grateful for, because it has been given to us for a reason. So there's a story that we have shared many times, that Devarshi, who lives in India now, he had shared with us that he was driving, it was raining, and he saw this old person, didn't have a lot of clothes, and in Delhi, where they were at that time in Khandala, it gets very cold, and he said, Divine Mother, why? Why does this person have to suffer? And he stopped at a stoplight, and this person was begging, and he just couldn't but ask, why? Divine Mother clearly told him, I give each of my child exactly what they need, not what they want. Well, we want a lot of things. Probably we want that $700 million yacht that Putin has, I guess, but it's not what we want, but exactly what we need for our own growth. So 8 million lifetimes we have traveled. We don't know how many more we will. So, but we are given these opportunities and the free will and the willpower to move in that direction. So, in conclusion, I just want to say a couple of things. One is, think of patience like the squiggly line stretching, where you don't get perturbed, even-mindedness that comes with it, and with even-mindedness comes resolve. With resolve comes inner strength. With inner strength comes more purpose. With that, you are able to strengthen our devotion, and it just helps us moving forward. But think of patience like a mirror. You need patience to develop willpower. You need willpower to develop patience. You need patience to build your courage. Courage to be patient amidst adversities. To be patient, we have to be spiritual. We have to open our minds to that infinite, energy, infinite power, so that we are able to handle everything that comes and not become impatient, not become agitated. And to be spiritual, we also have to be patient. Like God has been with us for eons and eons and eons. So it epitomizes in this poem, and I'll just end by reading these last 4 lines, the God's Boatman that Master wrote. Oh, I will come back again and again, crossing a million crags of suffering, with bleeding feet I will come, need be 1,000,000,000 times, as long as I know that one stray brother is left behind. Master comes in millions, in billions, in trillions. we can do our parts. Thank you all.